The following is an audio interview between law enforcement and those who witnessed the tragic incident at the 2021 Waukesha Christmas Parade when Darrell E Brooks drove his mother's red Ford Escape through the parade. 6 people lost their lives that day, more than 70 sustained injuries, and the numbers of those emotionally traumatized is beyond the hundreds. While most of the descriptions contained in this video are not graphic in nature, some may find this audio difficult to listen to. Viewer discretion is advised.
So there's a lot of room. You can get in here.
Yeah.
We just have to do this. Don't push. File in. Move to the
And
back.
it sounded like there was quite a bit of that. I mean, and I understand that I guess initial reaction to just go, but it sounds like there was quite a bit of kind of that trampling kind of thing going on, and so it's just unfortunately part of an event like that something comes up. So, well, as I mentioned before, my name is Special Agent Matt Anderson. I'm with the Wisconsin Department of Justice. Just want to talk to you a little bit about kind of what we discussed on the phone, what you saw, what you heard, and kind of just the initial aftermath of everything. So,
Okay.
but I want to start by just grabbing your contact information. So it's Normand with a D. And so at the time of the parade, it's my understanding that the store was open,
Yeah.
and that was where you were located. Now, did you stay inside of the business the entire length up until the incident?
Yes. We have a front door, and then there's actually a desk that's, a personal desk, not the counter that we do.
Okay.
And there's a chair there, and I was
Okay.
sitting there in that space, which is like probably maybe 6 feet from the door.
Okay. And so you had a view of Main Street from that perspective?
Right, right.
Okay. And so as you were in that location, kind of watching the parade go by, what caught your attention? What stood out to you as...
Well, there was all of a sudden the big kind of, noise or whatever that you want to call it.
Yeah.
When the hot air balloon goes through and he pulls the thing and everyone goes, oh,
Okay.
And so there was all of a sudden that, but then following that right away was all kinds of people, and I mean, in my mind I was confused a little bit because that's sometimes what happens at the end of the parade when
Sure.
people are just dispersing, but
Yeah.
I knew that I knew which bands had already gone through, and I knew that this was a South High School band playing, and I'm going, they're playing, and then all of a sudden there's this big noise, and then there's the quiet, and when I first heard that noise, it really made my attention go to the door, and then people as they're passing by, and then I actually saw the red vehicle
Okay.
that went through, and then I from my spot I could see there was another window that's over here,
Mm-hmm.
and I could see the vehicle swerving around the float that was in front.
Okay.
And then when I looked back, I actually could see that there were at least 3 of the students
Okay.
who were laying on the
Sure.
pavement.
So the noise that you described as kind of immediately drawing your attention, is that crowd noise or is that a particular noise that you heard? Like,
No,
was
kind of.
the crowd reacting to it?
Yeah, the crowd reaction. And then people, and the screaming and the panic of some of the people that
Okay.
were, just like, I got to get out of the way.
Sure.
They're just,
And-
and people were, some people were just picking up their chairs and basically fleeing.
Yeah.
Not really knowing exactly what had taken place at that
Yeah.
point, but.
So that noise draws your attention. Immediately after that, you start seeing people,
Right.
for lack of better words,
Immediately,
scrambling.
I went to the front door.
Okay.
So and I, not knowing I'd opened the front door and I said, "You can come in here. You can come in here," because I didn't. And there were some people who were doing that, but the reaction after people said that there were gunfire.
Mm-hmm.
Then the panic really set in because no one knowing exactly and people started really pushing,
Yeah.
out the door, and someone else opened so I have two doors that were opened up, and and I was right away going, everybody can get in here. I said, you can't push, you can't shove.
Yeah.
People need to keep on moving to the back, because once people first got in, they just kind of wanted to
stay
stand.
right in the front.
And I said, no, you need to move back. You need to
Yeah.
move back. Everybody needs to do that. And then two people brought in one of the band members that had been hit. He was bleeding from his head, and and they got him inside the store, and they did that because they said there had been gunfire, so they wanted to bring him into. And so we got a chair, and they sat down with him, and they stayed with him.
Was he conscious and
He
breathing?
was conscious, yes, but I mean, you could tell that he was really hurt
Yeah.
pretty decently. And the two people, who I know didn't know him,
Okay.
just helped him
Yeah.
and stayed with him and
Yeah.
and calmed him and saying it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And they put pressure on where the bleeding was. We got paper towels
Yeah.
to be able to put that on.
Sure.
And there was multiple bags of paper towels that
Yeah.
were used. And
Yeah.
but they just stayed there. They talked with him. They got to his, he must have given them his mom's telephone number or whatever.
Okay.
They called. Mom finally did come after
Sure.
probably 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
And when Mom came in, she was pretty hysterical, seeing him
Yeah.
bloody and whatever.
Right.
And I took her aside just briefly, and I just said, I said, you need to settle yourself down. Your son needs to
Yeah.
you.
Right.
And so she did,
Yeah.
and that because I've dealt with some of these kind of things because
Yeah.
I'm a retired elementary principal.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So I mean, it was not like something that.
Sure.
So
So, Normand, after you saw the people scrambling, you opened the door. When you open the door, is that when you're seeing that SUV coming by?
no. That
Prior
was,
prior
that
to?
was prior.
Okay.
Yeah, that was prior before me getting the door open.
Okay. So,
I
from your
mean-
perspective, you're at the front door, but it's not opened yet. Is that accurate?
Right.
And now we see the vehicle coming from right to left?
Through the door.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. And I would say that from my perspective, I thought that the vehicle probably increased speed as it was going towards the float and went around the float. I think it had somewhat maybe slowed down after hitting all the people that were.
Okay. Do you recall when you were looking out and watching the parade around the time of that noise in the crowd, what float was going past you or what segment of the parade was going in front of the business?
Yeah, it was the high school band was
Okay.
just like I think the color guard had just gone by.
Okay.
It was like right where the first instruments were playing.
Gotcha. So right as the band is starting to pass your
Yeah.
restaurant is when this all transpires. Okay. And so the vehicles, you're seeing this through the door. As the vehicle passes from right to left that you're seeing, you see that it swerves near a float that would have been in
Right.
front of the band.
Which would have been down in front of the antique store on the right, probably about the middle of their doors where they would get in, where you would enter. And, and I saw the vehicle swerve to the left and go around, the float.
Okay. Did you see the SUV actually striking people?
No, I did not.
And how would you describe the vehicle?
All I could tell you was it was a red, and it wasn't a car. It was an SUV or something,
Okay.
a little bigger, because it stood out over the
Sure.
the top of other
Yeah.
people.
And did you see into the vehicle at all? Did you see anybody
No.
inside? Okay.
No, there was just a very kind of like scan view that was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, kind of over the tops of the head of the crowd is what you're
right,
seeing it go
right.
past.
Just kind of, and then as I looked out the other, I could see the vehicle, then swerving around.
Okay. As people were kind of scattering, I'd
Yeah.
imagine you could finally
Yeah.
see through the gaps
And because of Gaspar was a closed street, there was a lot of people that were just
Going
going
down
up
that
the
way.
street. Yeah.
Okay. So when the vehicle swerved like that to avoid the float, you think that that was near the antique shop?
Yeah, it was in front of the antique shop.
Okay. And after, or as this is transpiring, I'd imagine that after you see the vehicle by, is that when you open the door then?
I went right away up to the front, and then
Yep.
as people were, not knowing what happened,
Sure.
yes, I went and opened the door.
Okay.
I
After
stood
you
in-
saw it pass.
Right.
Okay. And then people are starting to flow in. You had mentioned a band member that had come in. Any other injured individuals that came into your store?
There were a number of people who were in shock.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a band member that was like, she was completely dazed. She was
Yeah.
going like, the only thing I heard her say was, that my friend was right next to me and they're laying out there,
Yeah.
And so, I mean, she was rather hysterical, but we were able to get her to the back.
Yeah.
Then there was all the gathering of all the people
Mhm.
from South High School, from the band, and some of the parents. And then finally I just said to, and I'm like, bring them in here. And
Yeah.
I said, you can go to my balcony area.
Yeah.
And so that's, so there was probably, 25, 30 of
Sure.
them that went up there, and the parents were able to be with them. But at least they were being dealt with kind of separately. There was a lot of young families that had,
Yeah.
2 or 3 kids that were, under 5 with strollers and whatever.
Yeah.
And we got them in with their wagons and whatever, and
Okay.
went further into the store.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of those young kids, I don't think even were basically traumatized as much,
Right.
because they got to the one corner of my store that had all the stuffed animals,
there you
and they
go.
started pulling it.
Yeah, that's
They were sitting there playing, and I mean, they were there for a good hour and
Yeah.
a half,
Yeah.
before they were getting, and I kept on talking with the officers who were outside,
Yeah.
and I said, people are parked on the other side, tell us when, and they
Mhm.
finally came and escorted those families over
Yeah.
to where their parked vehicles were.
Do you recall which float was in front of the band, by chance?
No, I don't.
Okay. Okay. Does your bookstore have any surveillance
No.
footage that would have captured anything?
No.
Okay. Did you personally capture any videos or
No.
images? Okay.
My whole concern was helping the people.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that.
And it was like saying, no, this isn't something I'm going to pull out my camera and try to capture.
It's interesting in today's day and age that sometimes that is the first initial
Right.
response is to
because it's like, well, I can, if I
yeah.
catch something, I
Yeah.
could be quite the famous person.
yeah.
And that's not,
Well-
I mean, I look at it and say, I guess out of all of this, what I did see was people immediately not worrying about themselves and
Right.
going out and huddling around
Yeah.
the people that were laying
In
there
need,
on the
yeah.
pavement.
And I was just going to say I appreciate the fact that you catered your attention to the people that needed it. We'll recover whatever we can as far as terms of
Yeah.
videos and pictures, but the people that needed the attention, I'm glad that there were people like you out there giving them that attention. Is there anything else that stands out to you, or think that I should know in regards to the incident, or other things that you witnessed that maybe we didn't cover?
No, there was, I mean, the trauma became, really real for,
Yeah.
I mean, when I can remember a Hispanic dad who came in, who, started, people started coming in and shouting out names to see if their child was there.
Yeah.
And, and they're going like, they shouted out the name, and we would shout the name out into the store.
To see
and
if
they get,
anybody-
but and this dad, just, his eyes were just filled with tears.
Yeah. And Norman, even just with talking with individuals from various perspectives of this, there's definitely some trauma that occurred by a lot I people, and I'm
Right.
sure even residually for you to a certain extent, just having
I mean,
experienced
the other
it.
day when, yesterday when I was at the working out, and the television thing about,
Yeah.
in the court,
Yeah.
and then when it was announced, that a child had passed
Yeah.
away. As an elementary principal,
That hits close. Yeah.
and it was like going, I mean, you're sad that all those other individuals
Yeah.
that, but you're going like, here's a young life
Right.
that got snuffed out.
That was there to see Santa Claus.
Yeah, I mean, that was, and that was some of the things that we heard from kids who were in the store beforehand, because
Yeah.
they were out there for 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
they came in and used our bathrooms, whatever, and they're going
Yeah.
like, I'm here to see Santa. I haven't seen Santa in
Yeah.
2 years. I'm here to see it.
Yeah, just a lot of emotions tied up in this time of year, this type of event.
Yeah.
I recently talked to a high school student that saw more than he needed to see, and you could just tell it's going to be something that doesn't just go away. And so, as a community, I'm grateful that the community has already, become strong and be there to support each other. But that's going to be necessary for, I think, quite a while. Just with.
It's a typical, I guess, Waukesha response when I saw, videos that show, here are people who are injured and they've got 3, 4, 5 people,
who don't
not knowing exactly what happened, but they're going like, it's not about me, it's about helping somebody who I see in need. And I think that is part of the narrative that continues to need to go forward.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of those lives were probably saved, if not, significantly impacted by that response. And so,
and then you have, I think it's a miracle that so far there hasn't been one of the South band members that has been listed as fatality.
Yeah.
Because they laid there on the pavement. Right. And they were motionless. Yeah. And people were attending, but you could tell there was no response to them.
Right.
And then, the aftermath here of, like, how many people are going to have broken limbs and broken legs and pelvises and whatever, and their recovery is going to be long.
Just larger than life. Yeah. Well, I give kudos to you, business owners such as yourself, and people that are willing to open their store and their hearts to the community. And like I said, I'm sure that process will be necessary for quite some time, and hopefully that healing can start to occur, but it might take some time. So I appreciate you coming in today. Is there any other information that you think that I should include? Otherwise, we'll memorialize your observations, and if there's anything else that comes up, we'll reach out to you, but I don't anticipate that being the case.
No, I think of the incident itself.
Sure.
We did stay open until almost midnight because there were so many personnel down there.
Right.
There's no bathrooms on that end of town.
Oh, that's a good point.
So we made coffee and cookies and stuff like that.
Well, thank you for doing that.
So, it was like, and I sympathize because I know all of those people were traumatized by the same kind of thing. I'm thinking about if I was an officer and saying, there's nothing I could do to protect the people that I was supposed to be protecting.
Every level carries some type of trauma, and it's sad. Any way you look at it, I guess you can't make it look any better or sound any better because it's a tragedy. But I appreciate coming in today, Norman, and
all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
All right. And your first name?
Barbara.
All right. And was it just you two watching the parade together?
No.
You had a group of other people with you? Okay.
Mm-hmm. But they scattered.
They had scattered?
Well, because our kids have marched in that parade for years and years and years and years, and we weren't even going to go up, but then my one friend called because our other friend's daughter was in in Aspire dance, and it was her last one, and Andrea's having a lot of trouble with last. So I'm like, oh, I'll come up, And so we were kind of like up to support her. And then once it happened, Andrea went running down the street to try to find her daughter. My other friend stayed in the window because she had her autistic son with her. I don't even know where Jackie went,
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you able to give me just first and last names of the people that were in there with you?
Sure.
That was in your group?
Sure.
You can start with your husband?
Brian. Well,
Okay.
he wasn't there the one, so he dropped me off and then he went back home to grab a quick shower because he was just going to come up,
Okay. Yep.
So I was ready before him and I'm like, the parade's going to start. So he brought me up and then he came up after.
Okay.
And I was outside, already, whatever. And then I'm like, I should call him and tell him not to bother parking, that it's, crazy down here. And I literally was running in the door and he was at the door, just going, what? I just saw a red car go by. What, so.
Okay.
So he wasn't exactly
there.
Yeah, he was, but not with me at the time.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I apologize. I keep interrupting you,
that's
so I will
fine.
let you,
So,
just like you would think. Okay?
and that was our group,
Okay.
as far as I can remember.
And where were you guys watching at?
House of Harley. Oh, I keep saying House of Harley. House of Guinness. It's a nice one. Oh, we were right in the plate glass window, like nice and warm. And
You know what's interesting is the couple other interviews I've done so far, they've all been inside too.
Yeah.
Places. I'm like,
well, when we had
genius.
kids, we were always outside.
Yeah.
You know, because you want to like whatever. But Jesus, that one little girl got missed by such a little, like, by the grace of God.
Yeah. Do you know the address of the House of Guinness offhand?
I don't.
Okay, no
Just
worries.
on Main Street.
Perfect. All right. So you guys got there a little. You got there a little bit before the parade started.
Yeah, I think I got there about 3:30, maybe 3:45.
Okay. All right. And when you're facing out the House of Guinness and the vehicle is coming down the street, is it coming from the right or the left on your
Left.
side? Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to have you do is just kind of walk me through. I'm going to take some notes.
Perfect.
But again, recording.
Perfect.
But just walk me through kind of what you saw. I'm going to try not to stop you and ask any questions and kind of just leave those till the end.
Perfect.
So anything you can recall, and then if I need a little bit more detail somewhere, I'll ask you afterwards, okay?
Perfect. Love the dancing grannies. Me and my girlfriend were laughing. We're like, we're grandmas. We could be in there. Like, ha, ha, ha. The poor girl was marching her first parade. I just found out that got killed. And, you know, my friend Carrie was like, as she was saying, yeah, but my skirt would be a lot shorter, like laughing. Like out of the corner, I saw this red car coming. And I was like, wow, that sound car. Because, you know, my kids danced in so many parades. And I was like, they're really close because usually there's a gap. And then all of a sudden, I just saw all these people fly up in the air like bowling pins. And literally just stood there going, what the fuck, what the fuck? And then we just ran outside and did what we could, which I'm not trained. So I threw my coat on someone and, you know, like went over by some of the other ladies and asked if I could call anybody or if they needed anything or...
Okay. So at the time when the red vehicle came through, what group was in front of you at that point? Was it the dancing grannies?
It was the dancing grannies.
Okay.
Right in front.
You thought that sound car was too close?
Yeah,
Your original thought process.
Yeah, just because, like, why would a car be, like, coming so close? And then, literally, it was almost like slow motion, and then when it hit the people, it was like, holy crap, they're going so fast. Like, when I saw them out of the corner of my eye, I didn't realize how fast they were going. But then as soon as they, like, came into, like, the center of my vision, you just saw, like, how, like, fast he was going.
If you had to estimate how fast you thought he was going at that point, what would you say?
At least 40 miles an hour. I mean, he was going fast for a city street in a parade. I mean, yeah.
So you said it was a red vehicle?
Yes.
Any better description? I know that you've probably seen stuff online
like
and whatever.
As soon as I saw it go by, like, I mean, because I only saw the front of it out of the corner of my eye, but as soon as I saw it go by, I was like, that was an SUV. And then someone said, no, it was a red van. And I'm like, okay, maybe it was a red van. You know what I mean? But, like, when it went flying by, I thought it was an SUV.
Did you see anybody in that vehicle?
I did not.
Could you see how many people were in the vehicle?
I did not.
And I know you said that it sounded, or it looked like people were flying like bowling pins. Estimation of how many people you saw get hit?
At least 3, but I really, like, it sounds terrible, but like my mind, like I've said, it was like people just got hit like bowling pins. Maybe it's because I used to bowl, but like now that's what my head is like. I'm not seeing people flying through the air in my head right now. I'm like literally just seeing like objects in the air, which maybe is
Good.
better. Because this is fucking crazy.
And you said you ran outside then and tried to just help where you could.
Mm-hmm. The outpouring of EMTs and nurses, and someone's like, we need someone to do CPR. So I stood up. I'm like, who does CPR? We need someone to do. 2 people came over, said they knew CPR. A nurse came over, said, you know, I'm a nurse. What can I do to help? The guy that was holding the lady's head that I was by said he was an EMT. I mean, it was just crazy how many helpers there were. But I could do not. I mean, I'm not trained, so I just put my jacket down and, you know, went over to help the people that were on the side that were obviously still living.
When the vehicle was coming, and you said it was coming from the left, out of the corner of your eye, right?
Yeah.
Did you see a pattern it was going? Like, what if it was on the
straight.
side of the road more so?
On the far side of the road, so like House of Guinness is here. It looked like it was on the opposite sidewalk going straight.
On the sidewalk or on the road?
No,
Just
on the
like
road.
close.
On
Okay.
the road, but like, you know, not on the side of the road I was on the other side, but it was on the road.
Did you hear anything? I know you were inside.
Thank
but-
God, no.
No.
Mm-mm.
More specifically, any honking, anything like that?
Nope.
You were able to hear like the bands and stuff as they went
Yes.
by. So do you
Yes.
think you would have been able to hear honking
Yes.
from a vehicle?
Yes.
Okay.
Because like you could hear, like even though they had their music on inside the bar, like you could still hear. It sounds so terrible watching a parade from a bar, but I mean, you could still like hear the bands. You could hear the music to the dancers. You could hear, you know.
Okay. When you got outside and you said there was a lot of people out there helping, somebody yelled for CPR. Was that for one of the dancing grannies that you're aware of?
It was the EMT that was down by a gal's head, holding her head.
Okay.
He said, we need someone to do CPR. We need someone that knows CPR. It was for one of the dancing grannies, yes.
And I know this is going to be kind of blunt and a really crappy question, but did you see any other major injuries besides people just laying in the road? Think broken legs, anything like that that you...
No, just the one girl had such a glazed look over her eyes. And the other girl looked like she was... The girl that was on the far side that I'm sure... I don't know. The girl that was on the far side, she just had a very glazed look, and they kind of had her like immobilized as well. But she just... I didn't see any broken bones or anything. I just saw the look of people that weren't with it, if that makes any sense.
Okay. You said 2 of the women had the glazed look?
Yeah.
Um, and I have to ask, you weren't injured at all during
No,
this?
no, no.
Um, is there anything else that you remember that you think would be helpful, or?
No. I mean, to me, it just seems so open and shut. And I know you guys have to like investigate because it's what you have to do. But
Yeah.
It's just like, I know you're going to talk to a million different people, and it's like, I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. You know, like right away they said, the one that was up front, they said that she's dead, you know, and yeah. And my friend lost her sister lost her husband, so we ran down the street, and then I saw the South van. And my husband saw the kids, like, because he went down further and he saw the kids. He's having a really hard time handling it.
Yeah.
I just want to forget.
Yeah. I get that. Sometimes it is better to talk about it, even if it's with each other or someone else. I know I know all over social media and stuff, there's resources, but
Yeah, there are.
make sure that you take advantage of some of those, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know I'll
And
be
your
okay.
husband too, because I know sometimes it's even harder for the men to do that,
Yeah.
but
Well, he just saw the little kids. He's like, there's nothing I could do. It's like there were people there tending to him, but there was nothing I could do. And I'm like, well, we're not trained that way. I mean, we're fine. We will be fine. Just think of all those people I love.
yeah. Unbelievable.
And
It's
just
supposed to be so
seeing them.
joyous and
Oh, it's such a great parade. It really is. It's like way better than the 4th of July, but it's just such a great parade. And, you know, the next day popped up a memory, like, of my daughter marching with Extreme. You know? And it's just like, and at the vigil last night, they had big trucks, and it's like, why? Why? We live in Waukesha.
right.
So, it's crazy. It's just crazy. I'm sure you've heard worse.
Oh no, everybody's recollection is awful in its own way. And
I mean,
I could
strollers
imagine.
tipped over, chairs just left. Like, you grab your kid and you leave your stroller and you go running. Oh my God. Like, I mean, people compare it to a war zone. I'm sure a war zone is far worse. But for a civilian that's never been to war,
Yeah.
it was,
Oh, absolutely.
It
I
was
mean,
crazy. It was
um,
just crazy.
one of our supervisors, he was overseas, and he said when he came down here that first night, that's what he equated it to.
Yeah,
was what he saw overseas. So
It was just
you're
crazy.
definitely accurate in that portion from someone who has
Yeah.
seen it.
I just don't understand, why would someone be so, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just say the devil was in our town on Sunday, you know, but I'm not going to let hatred win
No.
because that doesn't do anybody any good,
No.
you know.
It doesn't.
And I woke up good this morning, damn it.
Well, hopefully talking
Yeah.
about it, getting a little bit of
Yeah.
it out now, it can just kind of be.
Well, tomorrow I have to go back. Yesterday I work at a hair salon,
Okay.
and I went in yesterday and I'm like, okay, I'm doing these people on my book, and then I'm going home, you know.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, day before Thanksgiving, I'll be busy. I just don't want to. I don't want to bury it, but I just don't want to talk about it. It's just like I
Right.
just feel for those people, and everybody knows somebody, you know. Like I did a haircut this morning, which I totally forgot about, and guy I've known for 40 years, but he like is knocking on the door. I'm like, shit, I'm in my pajamas. I'm like, let me change real quick, because I work at a salon and I have a salon at home. But he's just like, yeah, he's like, our neighbor knew the one dancing granny. So out of the 5 people, and there may be more already, but it was the 4 people from the dancing grannies, and then the 5th person was a friend of my girlfriend's. I'm just like, come on, man, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that the children are fighting for their lives. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard one is brain dead. I've heard.
There's a lot going on, and a lot that's going to probably change the next few days.
Yep. Yep. So let's be happy about the holiday.
But right. It's
I'm
tough.
sure you see it year round. Like you see awful things.
Yeah, but
all
I
the
mean, there's
time.
just when you think you've seen it all, then the world gets just that much more evil.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's,
Yep. Like
yeah.
I said, I'm just not going to let evil win.
No.
I'm just not. You know.
No, absolutely.
Please keep the victims and witnesses in your thoughts and prayers. I have included a link to the Waukesha Community Foundation Fund if you would like to learn how you can support the victims impacted by this tragedy. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day.